Good day, Sir Concho. My name is Kyle, and together with my groupmates Tracy, Varric, and Jamar, we are going to present New Clark City, and we will be applying Connelly's triangle to assess its sustainability.
New Clark City, or NCC, is a part of the entire development of Tarlac, Pampanga. As seen on the map, Clark will consist of four main districts. The Clark Freeport Zone is an existing mixed-use complex. Next is Clark Global City, will serve as the primary business district. And New Clark City will house satellite government offices and sports village. Central to all of this is Clark International Airport. Next slide, please. NCC is a 9,450 hectare master development plan located around the Clark Freeport Zone in Pampanga. It aims to address growing environmental problems caused by climate change by being disaster resilient in a region that has been heavily impacted by natural disasters. Next slide, please. NCC is expected to be the country's first smart, resilient, and green metropolis. It will feature a government center, a central business district, an academic district, an agri-forestry research and development area, and a wellness and ecotourism district. The image on the left shows NCC's comprehensive land use plan. Next slide, please. The main proponent which initiated NCC is the BCDA Group, or Basis Conversion and Development Authority. BCDA is a development corporation vested with corporate powers under Republic Act 7227, or Basis Conversion and Development Act of 1992. The BCDA Group is a prime mover of national development. Next slide, please. New Clark City is BCDA's answer to the overstressed confines of Metro Manila. It is designed to be the country's first smart, green, disaster-resilient city where nature, lifestyle, business, education, and industries converge and will be at par with other modern cities in the world. Next slide, please.
Now for the original intent and agenda of New Clark City. These are some of the visions of the BDCA for NCC. First is the Belt of Progress. These are the BDCA's wide mix of infrastructure and land development from north to south, which includes the Subic-Clark-Tarlac Expressway, or SCTEX, Clark International Airport, Clark Freeport Zone, Bataan Technology Park, and the New Port City in Manila. Next is the vision for the golden age of strategic partnership between the Philippines and Japan that will help realize the dream of build, build, build through the commitment of the Japanese government. Next is the vision for work, live, play, learn, where nature, cultures, and businesses harmoniously complement each other, making dynamic and progressive societies. Next is the vision for a city that breathes. The NCC's master plan calls for an unprecedented 60% of the land as an open space. Lastly is the vision for resilient growth, which includes making into reality the social and environmental growth that will make the city a better place. Next slide, please. These are the BDCA's branding naman for New Clark City that also answers the question, why NCC? First of all, the structures of NCC intend to reflect the modern Philippine architecture and design that traces its roots to a simple, often overlooked element of Filipino culture. Then, according to BCDA, relocation may not always be solution to the congestion, but in the case of Metro Manila and New Clark City, the choice is crystal clear that it is a must. Next is the communities. The New Clark City will be the standard on how a city must look and experience. However, communities of the future must be self-contained, connected, and above all, must be green. Then for domestic and international investments and businesses, as previously mentioned, the golden age of strategic partnership between the Philippines and Japan will strengthen the country's network, partnership, investment, and trade. Next is the connectivity in all its forms, physical, technological, and human. It is part of the solution of master planners to take to ease urban congestion and make a region grow. Next is nature, culture, and businesses harmoniously complement each other. This was part of the work, live, play, learn vision mentioned earlier. Then a city that breathes. This was also mentioned a while ago in the vision for the NCC, as well as the resilient growth. For the mixed income housing naman, the BDCA aims to mimic Singapore's mixed income housing, reflecting inclusivity and harmony. Then sports and gaming centers. The NCC as a new landmark will not only be a venue for games, but a catalyst for a more vibrant urban landscape and tighter community. It will also be Asia's next food hub because of its strategically located stock exchange of fresh agricultural produce and processed products, making it a win-win situation among people and companies in the business of feeding the world and those who love to eat. And lastly, it will be an environment for that fosters creativity, community, and collaboration as a key to winning the long game of innovation. Next slide, please. These are the rendered images of the proposed NCC from BDCA. It shows the urban mixtures of greeneries and buildings. Next slide, please.
So for the actual development timeline, in 2016, the groundbreaking rites for NCC were led by then President Benigno Aquino III. And in 2018, Phase 1A of the National Government Administrative Center, which consists of the new Clark City Sports Complex, began. This was the first facility to be built because back in 2019, the country became the host and the NCC Sports Complex became its venue. In 2020, BCDA partnered with the Department of Agriculture to put up an agro-industrial hub. Also, BCDA signed a memorandum of understanding with the British Embassy in Manila for the design of the NCC and Central Park and affordable housing project. In 2021, a symbolic marker was unveiled at New Clark City by BCDA and the British Embassy Manila to ceremonially lay the foundation of the Central Park. And in the current year, NCC celebrated its return as a hotspot for tourism and sports. Here are the lists of what is completed as of the current year, 2022. And on the right is the ongoing projects, and the estimated date completion for NCC is expected in December of 2065. Next, please. So what is in New Clark City? These pictures and information are from the Facebook of NCC, and according to their post, there are 6 facilities open at NCC, starting with the Riverwalk, where you can jog, bike, and join the Zumba and more, followed by the Athletes Village, which consists of housing and training facilities for the athletes. Next is the residences, which consist of housing units for employees. Next slide, please. Next is the athletics stadium and aquatic center, which were the main venues for the Southeast Asian Games back in 2019. And lastly, the Integrated Disaster Response Operations Center, which is a backup facility that will ensure continuous government operation when a disaster occurs. Next, please. Here are some pictures of what events and activities happened when NCC opened its doors for people to visit. Next, please. And here are some aerial views of the said facilities and some views of roads around NCC. Next, please.
Okay, so moving on to the comparison of the original intent to actual development. So this diagram generally shows the summary. So our analysis on the original intent was based on the stated vision, branding, and plans of NCC. Our group was actually leaning towards the middle. However, it's kind of bit away from the social justice. And on the other hand, naman, the analysis of the actual has been based on the completed phase 1A of NCC and its ongoing progress. So given that NCC's development has just started, it was kind of difficult to critique as it is unfinished. And our group thought that NCC's actualities are leaning towards economic growth, and it is concentrated to business and investment. All right, so I'll just screen share the mapping. Okay. All right, so I just want to show you the mapping of the original intent because we actually did a table to summarize everything. So yeah, as I've mentioned, our group thought that NCC's original intent is definitely a great plan if done correctly and in just. And so yeah, we're on the middle-ish part of the triangle. However, yeah, a bit far away from social justice. Okay, so let's go to the environmental protection. So NCC will be the first resilient, smart, and green metropolis. So this is actually also connected to the economic and social justice, and it also branches to several key points. Number one is that it will house and promote agri-forestry and research and development and wellness and ecotourism as well. And then the second one also branches out to an efficient mass transportation system, meaning hopefully fewer cars and lesser carbon emissions, which hopefully improve our air quality. And then third, according to BCDA, 60% of NCC will be intended for greeneries, while 40% naman, or about 3,000 hectares, will be developed as a green and open space. And part of this 60% is NCC's Central Park. Okay. And then fourth naman is the NCC development. This is designed to be human-centric and pedestrian friendly, giving ample space on the sidewalk, meaning they promote walkability, again, probably result in fewer cars and lesser carbon emissions. And then fifth, as claimed by the BCDA, it is a sustainable development, basically greener energy sources such as solar powers, liquefied natural gas, and waste to energy facilities. And the design of the building itself will be designed to use a low amount of energy. And then six naman, as a sustainable city, the developers also intend to use local sustainable building materials such as lahar. It contains rocks, debris, and ash, and solidified lahars are found in many areas of Mount Pinatubo, which is near NCC. Okay, so moving on naman to the economic growth part. So first, NCC is branded to be branded to be a catalyst for national growth. So BCDA's project from north to south featured varied mix of infrastructure. And then next is that NCC's district will feature a government center which consists of government satellite offices serving as backup for Manila's central government. And then also a central business district for amplified investments and businesses. And this also branches out to job generation for the Filipinos. And then next intent of BCDA is for economic growth. It is meant to be it is branded as Central Luzon's legacy as the nation's agri-industrial capital, and this again branches out to job generation. And then next intent is to be the golden age of strategic partnership. So BCDA has been actively presenting and communicating with foreign and domestic investors, companies, and governments for partnerships. And then NCC intends to be an inclusive, self-contained, connected, and green community, which they are proposing a mixed income housing catering to all socioeconomic standing. So this is actually based on Singapore's housing or the HDB. And then NCC also intends to promote fresh agricultural produce and processed products by branding, and NCC is branding it as Asia's next food hub. Okay, so yeah, they all branch out to job generation and housing about 1 million residents. Okay, so for the social justice naman. Okay, there. So here, work, live, play, learn, venues where nature, cultures, and businesses are in harmony. And this intent branches out to generating opportunities for the indigenous people and farmers. And they are said na parang they would greatly benefit from the development, such as job opportunities. And according to BCDA, NCC will be the most inclusive and sustainable city in the country. And here, it is also said that Filipino culture is mirrored to the architecture and design of NCC. And then lastly, NCC will have academic districts and an agri-forestry research and development area, aiming to provide more opportunities for education and research. All right, okay, so going back to the presentation. There. Okay, so with this, it is a table we basically did to summarize the tabulation of the comparison of the original intent and the actual development. Okay, so for the actual development naman, we have to take note na it is as of 2022 pa lang, which is the completion of phase A1, and that the development is at 40% progress pa lang, and that it is expected to be completed by December 2065. All right, so first is the British Embassy has turned over its Global Future Cities program final reports to BCDA. So this is for their implementation of integrated sustainability plan for New Clark City, Interlock. Okay, and then NCC opened last May, and it is currently seen as a tourist destination or an ecotourist spot. And then, however, parang since maraming tao yung pumupunta right now, it is said that it is somehow inaccessible as it is car-centric at the moment, and it is not as walkable as it has been endorsed, since the blocks are long and far from each other. And then NCC has also provided bus trips from SM Clark to NCC and vice versa. So the current development is also great for biking, as mentioned by the public. And then the sidewalks are lit up by solar power streetlights, and it has bike lanes and plant strips. And it's nice to walk given that the sidewalk is spacious, like it's maluwag and presko. However, yun nga, the blocks are just too long enough to walk, and the streets are very much inactive and like there's no life. And then UP did the aerial mapping for this project to ensure that the master plan is aligned with the natural contours and usage of land. And then ADB also has actively contributed to the development of NCC, such as conducting biodiversity assessment and hydrology study to conserve the flora and fauna to ensure the sustainability of water. And yeah, however, one of the critics, Yanni Lopez, UP Geography Department Chair, she said that drastic changes disturb the fragile ecobalance. So residents, especially kids, have noted that some birds, fishes, and even prawns, even snakes were kind of disappearing on the area. And then next for the economic growth naman. So NCC, SCTEX Access Road, and Sacobia Bridge naman are actually completed. And then the phase 1A of NCC houses the listed structures on the slide. With all that, that has been occurring on the actual development of NCC, it highly appears as a business-centric city, and several interviews of engineer Joshua Binkang of BCDA has been actively promoting businesses and investment opportunities. Several professionals have also stated the business centrism of NCC, while on its original intent, it is mainly for the people, or it is human-centered. And on a personal note, opportunities are given to retail stores and big companies, yet Clark and generally Pampanga houses rich local goods. And yeah, the question is, will they allow micro businesses to roam around NCC? And yeah, the actual economic growth of NCC has been given concentrated attention to big domestic and international companies. So are they making the rich richer, and is that the reason behind their aggressive endorsement of NCC? And yeah, lastly naman, for the social justice of the actual development of 2022. So this is probably the most controversial issue, since IPs and farmers are said to be being displaced. And that's actually a case of development aggression. And reading from a couple of articles, law reviews, and first-hand interviews regarding the issue, it turns out na it's kind of chaotic, since parang BCDA has been claiming na there are no declared certificates of ancestral domain titles, or the CADT, in the area. And so they claim that therefore Aita families are not displaced, since yun nga, the land is owned by the government. However, kasi Mara Maniego, the chairperson of FACMA, represented by attorney Tony Lavinia, they have received 7-day eviction notices from BCDA, and they actually have native titles. So they had occupied the ancestral domain for years ahead of Spain's colonization of Philippines, and that since the 90s they have been consistently applying for the CADT. However, their applications have gone unnoticed and unanswered despite the numerous requests throughout the years. And according to the law review, UST law review, the non-granting therefore, despite multiple follow-ups from applicants, can only mean the lack of valid ancestral domain. Instead, it could indicate a lack of willingness on the part of the government to grant what is due to the indigenous people. So actually, Maniego stated that NCIP, or the National Commission on Indigenous People, said that they're lying, as they have documents and proofs na they have applications and since the 90s, and that NCIP have received those applications. So yeah, BCDA still argues that they provide financial assistance to the project affected communities by providing 300,000 pesos per hectare, and that they have been insisting that BCDA and NCIP continuously have dialogues, and that more than 500 ITAs are actually employed in NCC. It's just alarming how the National Commission on Indigenous People is actually inactive in implementing the Indigenous Peoples' Right Act, when they should be the first one to assist and protect the IPs. And according to Andre Ortega, who is the principal investigator and counter mapping for peri-urban social justice, I quote, what's the clearest from the NCC development is that it remains business-centric with no little to no input from the people who cultivated the land. Okay, next. Okay, so was the original intent agenda met? So it's actually hard to tell as it is too early right now. And at this point, NCC's development is still ongoing and is at phase one, which is at 40% progress. However, considering the issues regarding the IPs and the NCIP people and yeah, the farmers, etc., it's just so alarming how the vulnerables are being forgotten once again. And ancestral lands are just more than not hold more importance than just monetary value. And they are home to, in essence, the history of our first people. So yeah, given that it's still in the early stages, I guess we can give them the benefit of the doubt and actually include them to empower the marginalized and the development through the development, and that they should give high regard and great opportunities to them, and to also listen to the ITAs and the farmers. Okay, so here are just some of the quotes I've collected and stated. These are from significant peoples regarding the issues of IPs and farmer displacement. So just wanted to highlight one. So an inclusive and green city, which pushes further to the periphery. The indigenous peoples damages more than it assists, destroys more than it creates, and alienates more than it unites. Okay, so Zaymar.
It has less than 30% of that, in spite of the Malaysian government's nearly unlimited oil funds. Next slide, please.
So to quickly compare Masdar City and New Clark City, starting with the similarities of both cities, both claim to have a sustainable development, but both spend vast amounts of the resources before they can become a truly sustainable place. One of the city's challenges is the location of the place, and commuting is the only way to reach it as of the moment. Another challenge of the place is it is not built and fit for all classes. Moving on to the differences, starting with Master City. Their plan started in 2006 and continue to develop into sustainable one, which is for the long run for their citizens and the city's future. And it started from scratch and had a massive setback, which is the global financial crisis. Another is their sustainable development is towards energy saving, efficient mass transport, recycling, reusing materials and its waste, and maximizing natural light and air. While in New Clark City, the development of the New Clark City started in 2016 with a vision of becoming the first green, sustainable, and resilient city in the country. By adding government facilities, sport hubs, parks, and etc. It started from the scratch and had a massive setback, which is the COVID-19 pandemic. Next is the current development for NCC is building new facilities and promoting its new and clean place. But there is no actual sustainable development as of the moment. The development is in its earliest stages, phase 1A, and it is all about government buildings, sports hub, and promoting the place to the investors. Lastly, Master City is promoted as a sustainable city, and it acts like an actual city, while in New Clark City, it is promoted to be the country's first green, sustainable, and resilient city in the country. However, in phase 1A of the development, the place acts like a tourist spot or a place filled with activities. Next, please.
Okay, so in conclusion, the vision for NCC is beyond remarkable. When finished, the NCC will be the Philippines' first disaster resilient, smart, and sustainable city. Just wanted to quote to Attorney Tony Lavinia's statement. You are not in principle against New Clark City as the project of the BCDA under the Aquino administration and pursued by the Duterte government. We appreciate an initiative to build a green city in the country, but we must do it right. So yeah, they must actually include and empower the marginalized through this development. And if that is achieved, we can probably say that it was a remarkable development. So yeah, it would be a win-win situation. So yeah, that ends our presentation, sir. Thank you.